Good night, Mr. Murray. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good night, Marcia. Once again, it's good to be here, and I look forward to another stimulating night.
This is a very different one. Very different one. We thought that we would, showcase the candidates and have a discussion. And as we are still waiting for Felicia Dujon to be able to, for her to speak. I
Right.
think there's a speaker now, and then shortly after, in a few minutes, she should be on. But we thought it'd be important to bring Mr. Chad Blackman on and for us to hear what he's saying and what is his vision for the constituency, etc. I know a lot of my viewers, they don't want to hear him. But
Well,
I thought it was necessary that we should. What are your thoughts about that, Mr. Murray?
let me first of all commend you for your even-handedness and your sense to bring fair and balance to the coverage of this by-election, even at this early stage, and your adeptness in turning a discussion program into a news program. You are easily the most nimble news gathering and disseminating unit in Barbados now. And I think I know it makes you, it challenges you to keep things going, but you're very good at it. And I think this is another good example of it. Um, I've listened to some of Mr. Blackman on previous occasions, some of him tonight, some yesterday in St. James North at the not Gordon Gurney School, right? Uh, but so far, the most memorable thing he said of all those speeches, with those comments he made when he politicized, when he sought, no, not so, when he politicized the question of the teachers' leave.
Mm.
Because up to that point, it was a straightforward dispute between the teachers and the government. It was back and forth, and they were negotiating for a long time. But then he injected, without there was nothing that was said by the teachers' union themselves. There was not said by the DLP, following Ms. Dujon, or the leader, Mr. Ralston, to indicate that they were making political impact or inputs or making a political spin on the question of the teachers' leave. Let me say this first of all. There's a feeling in Barbados that teachers get a lot of vacation 3 times a
Mm-hmm.
year. What they don't understand is that a lot of vacation is some of that vacation is spent in planning and in doing very to the school. Plus, teachers, good teachers never stop. They take homework, they work on weekends, they take their own money and buy supplies for school their classes in a way that people don't fully realize how starved the schools are of basic things, and their teachers have to use their own funds to do that. But what I don't think the public fully understands this term's leave. It's not another certification. In other societies, it would be or at the university, it would be called um, oh Lord, it never slipped me. A sabbatical,
Yes.
where you are expected to travel, to read, to research, to do a project, do various things. But it's a break from your normal routine to give you a chance, as they say, recharge your batteries, and
Mm-hmm.
it's necessary. And there's a long-standing tradition which some of our so-called Republican people are saying it stems from the colonial days. Yes, it did, but so did the language that we speak. So does the basic education system came from the colonials, but this is an old system that goes back to the earliest universities. So, and teaching is a very demanding um, occupation, and in this day and age, the teachers are hard put by the children to society, change demand, lack of resources. Um, what I think is, I understand is the base of the problem. There's not that nobody is getting terms leave, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the unequal distribution of that leave. Yes, some get and some don't. There's no clear rationalization of the terms and conditions under which you will get, even though the terms and conditions what you to qualify are the same, are supposed to be the same. How it's allocated in grant, it does not. And there's clear favoritism in the system. They say they're claiming that the government or the BLB favors that get their leave, and then the other they're studying, and it's not fair. The curse. It's very popular to criticize the bureaucracy, but one good thing about the bureaucracy is if it's followed, It's not the system, the people who manage the system. You're supposed to have standards and checks and balances and criteria, which if you follow them, you get the same quality result each time. And it's clearly not happening this time. But I think when I read a part of the paper today, I think the real secret is the Prime Minister yesterday gave a red indication of what the problem is. The point that they don't, she said it would cost about $6 million. And clearly the government doesn't have $6 million in this budget controlled by the IMF to put in there. Because I think then they're stalling, debating and discussing and meeting and back and forth because they can't come to a resolution that will involve money. Okay? That is the reason. And I know that because certainly I had the honor of being Minister of State responsible for the public service. I dealt with all these kind of matters. And I do not understand this, how complicated. There's a basic right that was recognized, had been reestablished by the courts. So it's a question of just sitting down and working out how you will satisfy the demands of the court and the rights and entitlements of the teachers. So all this negotiating and back and forth. The ministry, okay, it's the teachers union and it's the Ministry of Education. Then you have to refer to the Ministry of Civil Service, of which the Prime Minister is head, the minister.
Yes.
Then it has to go to the Ministry of Finance, where she is minister, right? So I've dealt with issues where I would call a meeting of all the parties from the start, the lawyers, the teachers, the unions, and you discuss it broadly, and you work out a set of steps. You don't sit down in isolation and think you what say there's a multidiscipline problem. If the new Ministry of Education talks to itself, it then has no impact from what the Ministry of Service will do or should do. It will have no impact on what the lawyers would say. So you waste time back and forth. When all you call everybody together and you break it down step by step, you get a clear understanding as to whose roles or what. And then you work out of a common understanding of what the problem is. But I think they're stalling. They're stalling because they don't have $6 million. The IMF will not give them $6 million to take care of this problem. And I hope the teachers in the negotiations, when they decide to send it, I will warn them, don't take bonds. Don't take your entitlement in bonds, either you might never live to see it or your children never will. I think if you can do the kinds of things I'm saying, I see the government has money to help subsidize the Baptist Workers Union celebration on May 1st in St. John.
Before you go on that, I want to speak, just take a pin right there. No. I want to speak specifically about parts of this speech that we heard tonight. And one of the areas that I personally want to speak on is Mr.
Blackman.
Chad Blackman.
Senator Chad Blackman.
Senator Chad Blackman. Chad Blackman. He says that his campaign is going to be energetic, it's going to be creative, and it's going to be based on humility. I think there's a fourth one that he said. And a lot of people see this branch meeting that happened yesterday, and the lots of lights and all of that. I want you to remember the kind of how deep is the purse that Mr. Blackman is working with. All right. So he can talk about his campaign being energetic, creative, etc. Now, and so we understand that money will take care of all that glitz and all of that, which I know, having been walking with the DLP yesterday in the constituency, they don't have that budget. You can be around, Mr. Murray, and you can understand. Okay.
No, don't forget, I spent many years with the BLP, and I know how deep the purses can be for some people, and how it can be used at times. So I'm familiar with that. You're culture.
Familiar with that, and especially since he said in his speech that he was summoned home by the Prime Minister. And remember, the political scientist in the Barbados today was asking the question, is this a favorite? Okay, so we know that money going to spend. All right, so let us understand that. Somebody said, oh, but their feed sounds better than the DLP. It will. So understand that it will. because money going to spend. The purse is deep. So understand, you look at it, and that's why we need to have this kind of discussion and to look at what is happening over the government side. They have the money. Now, this point here, I just want to make mention of, because we're having a discussion about it.
Right,
Is
no
the whole
problem.
thing about humility. I cannot believe this is the gentleman, the same gentleman, only days ago dismissed. I mean, just totally dismissed the concerns of the teachers of this country. And he's here. You heard him on here talking about humility. I remember when Miss McLean just went on the program to say to him, listen, as you're new to the being the minister of education transformation, whatever you call that, take your time, and she was offering advice, and this young man jumped into her and didn't just do it on the program, but went into parliament. And Miss McLean, I'm repeating what she said, Miss McLean said he lied on her. This is the same gentleman that is on here, Senator Chad Blackman, who went in, and I mean, I couldn't believe someone who didn't attack him, that he was attacking her in parliament. Do you all remember that?
Yeah. Let me say that let me confess that my first encounter with Chad Blackman, which was when he was a parish ambassador for Christ Church, and he obviously had skills and ability. And we discussed his future. He said he wanted to get to politics, and he's the great grandson of Walter Clare Burden Hines, who represents St. Peter for many years. So as Sante Barber said, he has political pedigree. You understand? He has political pedigree, all right. And so he said he was doing economics. I said, fine. I said, why don't you do law to give yourself some elbow room to be your own independence? And I believe he took that advice. But he's not the same person as he is today. He like, for example, that attack on Senator McLean indicates that he came back too much, rather than showing a difference and showing his youth and his experience with education. He came back too much as a political pit bull, ready to attack and to be partisan in a way, which in cheap partisan attacks, cheap partisan politics. I thought it was unbecoming of a man who had so much promise and of whom you would have thought so much. And since then, he's reinforced it time and time again. Where he also, like, for example, when he was talking about when he politicized the question of the terms, he said he will not allow it. It will not happen. My man, I can't believe it. As though
he said, as man. And somebody said he looks almost like the prime minister. But finish your thought there, Mr. Murray. And I'm going to show. Dave has a clip of what he had. We had insulted Miss McLean, who could be his mother. But go finish your thought.
No. I said that when he did that, he always was exhibiting the same arrogance and intolerance and peevishness and fretfulness that characterized his two predecessors in that ministry.
Yes, very much so. Dave, can you run that clip? Thank you so much.
Was a former foreign minister of this country. I will repeat, I'm told that the last caller when I was on the program was the former foreign minister in a Democratic Labour Party administration, who arguably will go down in the history of Caribbean politics as the worst foreign minister in the Caribbean, Mr. President. Who started to throw questions and aspirations on the process of which we're now looking to undertake. And why was I shocked? Because said person, Mr. President, has now resolved herself to be the vicarious of the leader of the opposition and wants to come and lecture this government on education transformation. Where was she, Mr. President, when the aspirations of young Barbadians who were enrolled not only wanted to be enrolled, but those who were enrolled in the University of the West Indies, where she was a teacher and a lecturer. And I'm also told that she was fired. These are facts.
Lies. Stop it right there, Dave. And this is the very humble guy that's now, he's quoting scriptures, and this is how they play with people's head, right? He is a humble guy that is quoting scriptures. But I think Mr. John, it should be coming up soon. But we'll just have you go ahead, make your comment.
No, I just want to say the tone, and he's maintained that tone and style of attack of cheap personal politics, despite that do not match with the intellect that Santiago Bradford just said he exhibits, having worked with the ILO and the ambassadors. That is not indicative of those kind of qualities you'd expect from persons with those kind of experiences and jobs of water. So therefore, he's yet to prove his full merit. I think this Ms. Dujon might be coming.
Oh my goodness! Oh my Lord! Mr. Murray, your thoughts there as we wait. We might pick up a bit more of it. I think Mr. Thorne is going to speak, but go right ahead.
No, I'd always considered her a very powerful speaker and a great presenter. And tonight she lived up to that. She's clearly will be a force to be reckoned with on anybody's platform. And therefore, if you're dealing with persuasive language and quality of presentation, she's not to be underestimated or be trifled with. If people's minds are supposed to be changed. I would, and I now see. At first, I couldn't quite understand why she was chosen for that constituency, but then I understand that she herself has lived in St. James North.
Yes, if I could just say something there that would help what you're saying, is that I met her brother, who still lives in the constituency, and she has family still in the constituency. Yeah, that's right. Where she lived. Yes, go right ahead.
I remember that there used to be a place in Weston called Castries, an informal gathering of mostly St. Lucian Bajans informally referred to as Castries. So therefore, she has. I'm making that point to show she's had a grounding, a prayer grounding. And she's not an outsider coming to make a point. All right? I understand her brother still lives there. So therefore, and then so that helps to explain partly her selection. Then when I remember that she is a specialist in education, etc., and rights, that she would therefore make a very good match for Senator Blackman, who's the minister of. We used to in the old time days when we were calling, we used to call him Minister of Education. Now he's the education and transformation. Okay, but so that to me is a perfect match, and I wish we could have them on a platform in a debate to show their mettle in a controlled environment, and then we see who has what in it. But I thought she made a good presentation for a start. I would like to hear her more have a structured theme and develop it within the confines of the needs of St. James North and the north of Barbados and Barbados. But I thought she's off to a good start, and she has maintained her pugnacious style, and I look forward to hearing more of her as the campaign goes on.
Yeah. What I loved about is that she used the opportunity to inspire the people of St. James North. I mean, she has a little bit of time, and so you give a speech, and you can give a speech, and you can list the things that you're going to do. But I think she chose tonight to inspire
to introduce herself to
introduce herself, because I heard her speaking to the people in the community, and I'm sure they will have some more. I do hope that they will have her more, speaking more, where now she would be able to go through her vision but I think she chose to inspire.
But I just want to make the point also that some of the basic lessons I read about, or taught about, and lived with. The first is to get people to like you, to have a persona that attracts. I think she has a winning personality. a terrific smile, I think you can be drawn to her. You people will find her attractive. Charisma doesn't looking good and being handsome or good or and dressed well are good selling points in politics. It draws people to you. And I think she has a persona that as an individual, people will be listening to give her to entertain her and listen to what she has to say to them. So I think that stands in it. That stands her in good stead. And she's not come across as arrogant and patronizing and feel that talking down to people and feel that they already have it covered and whatnot. So, like I said, she's off to a good start. Which, or if she builds on that foundation, she should make a very good showing in the time to
Yes.
come.
Let's hear a little bit of Mr. Thorne. Goodness, I'm seeing Mr. Murray is still with us, and I'm seeing Miss McLean is getting ready to join us. I don't know if she got here this fast, but I think she's getting ready to join us. And the phone line is open, guys. We need to hear from you tonight. It's an unusual night, and I want to you would tell me, Mr. Murray, I need to apologize because we made an announcement of what we're going to do tonight, and we have not touched that yet, right? So guys, we will pick that up another time. Again, apologies, we didn't do a bait and switch, but things just went a whole different way. And I want to ask you to give us a call tonight. Give us a call tonight. Mr. Murray, what's on your mind as people get ready to call?
Um, Before we go any further, I'd started to mention something about the BW and the BLP and the celebrations at Pool in St. John on May the 1st. I think it's an important point to make. Most, if not all, of the labor unions in Barbados get a subvention from government as part of the budget. All right, but what I've noticed in the last 2 years, there's been a concerted attempt, not at the success of the BLP government, of subsidizing the activities of the BW. The BW has lost a lot of memberships, lost a lot of money, and it has not been able to raise funds to do the kind of celebration that they normally would have done in the past. But I think it's wrong for the BW May Day to be morphed into the gathering in St. John on the excuse that they bring community to it. And not only is it, I find it wrong and reprehensible. Frank Walker, there was a time when the Barbados workers would hold a celebration in Queen's Park or King George V Park on May Day, and thousands would be there with no assistance for anybody. Now the government, through money and goods and services, are subvented. I think it's wrong and should be put a stop to. They've done it for the last 2 or 3 years, and I think it is not good enough to let taxpayers money to go to make the Barbados Workers Union pool seem to be what is not. If it's weak, let us fight its way back to the top, but we should not be subsidizing. And when we want to give it the special relationship that was established between the BW and the Barbados Labour Party in St. George North by election, through the election to anymore, we have all reason to oppose it.
Yes,
all right. The other thing, one more quick thing. Martin is not coming. I think Mr. Thorne raised a point which I had in my notes. The question of the security of the atmosphere in which this election will be conducted. What impact will be the fair? There's some people who do not go after 6, drive after 6, who shut their doors. How will Barbadians be brave enough, encouraged enough, even people in St. James North, to leave their homes, to go to meetings in the customary area in this changed environment, when they don't know what will happen to their homes when they're out, or what will happen to them on their way back home. I think we need an assurance for the government that every step we make to protect the public who want to know, who want to be brave enough to come out and exercise the democratic right in the keeping of the Barbadian tradition of going to political meetings and keeping democracy alive. I think we are making the mistake that St. James has historically been a stronghold for the BLP.
That's what I say, but I don't know if it's quite so.
But St. James, neither St. James nor any other part of Barbados has gone through what we've gone through since 2018.
That's true.
So therefore, I think people are misleading themselves I think if the Prime Minister thinks that she's still as popular as she was in 28 or her government, she is sadly mistaken. Both she individually and the government have lost a lot of ground in popularity and trust and belief. So if that is so, one has to understand it's logical to expect somebody has also gone to St. James North. So it being a strong crowd cannot be as strong as before. And therefore, you can have a good fight. Like I said, tonight you weren't here, but I thought how powerful Ms. Dujon was and is as a presenter. And therefore, they're underestimated because Mr. Blackman has not yet taken part in any debate in which I think he can be a match for Ms. Dujon.
And unfortunately for him, he started out with a level of arrogance, not necessarily, referring to the political challenge he will have and that whole exercise of the by-election. But I remember my encounter with him, because it was less of an exchange because he didn't get into speaking to what I.
But we raised it. We discussed it and played.
We discussed it here.
Yeah,
yes.
We discussed tonight. So
when
okay. We talked about it tonight. Yeah, Marcia brought it up tonight just to show. And I was also struck by I mentioned earlier, but in her comments yesterday to the media by Sante Brash, who's the campaign manager. Don't forget, a woman of political pedigree, the campaign manager. She made reference to the fact that she was impressed by his intellect. His intellect, and also talked about his pedigree too. She didn't use pedigree, but that she was the offspring of Burton Hines, etc., etc. So already it's very But I just want to make one point. We've heard a lot about, and I did at the point as times that I was a great admirer in his early days when he was a youth, when he was a parish ambassador. But he has gone too far and too quick and too deep to be cheap politics that I would prefer, and therefore he has a lot to me to prove. We heard the point I want to make. We've heard about these high posts that he's had, but I have no idea of what his record of performance is in those posts.
How long did you hold the post either?
And what did he achieve? So I can't judge him. I can only judge him by what will appear on his CV. But that does not tell the matter of his performance. And therefore, I'm not going to translate that into what I expect him to do in Barbados. And I think his behavior so far has fortified my determination to be cautious in that regard.
Now, I listen, and I tell people you have to be careful about displaying what I call arrogance. Barbadian, and I'm not talking about confidence. I'm talking about an arrogance in which you seek to, and no pun intended and pun intended, talk down to people, and do so in a way that at the end of the day, you do it and you do not demonstrate a depth of understanding of issues. In his case, issues education. And again, this is an area in which I think that he is less knowledgeable because he's come from a very different background, and I don't believe that he would have been following the issues and comprehend them, because we've had a lot of discussions in Barbados in the last couple of years about our educational system, about children in the system, and all of these things. And I am not sure that he's participated, but I let others speak. Marcia.
In the old time days, we would have gone there and read the files, read the reports, get familiar with the literature, the studies, etc.
That's true. That's true.
So you go in there and start talking. What is the basis on which you're making suggestions and have ideas? Ideas based on what?
That is
and get the grounding.
But that
and
is
then
true.
you be. Otherwise, I think you're just waste. And then it's just sort of. This is the first time, Maxine and Marcia, that Barbados has ever been afflicted with 3 successive, 2 education failures. Sante Bradshaw, when she Minister of Education, and then Ms. McConney. And now we seem to be heading to a third. Barbados used to be a place where education minister was like the Minister of Finance in stature and powerful.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Before time runs out on us, I'd just like to say that apart from Miss Dujon, I thought some of the new candidates that I saw they look interesting and promising. They look visually they look impactful and appealing and somehow some skills. And I was very pleased about that. They're fresh, engaging. They look as though they could be developed into a persons of merit politically. I was particularly impressed too by oh Lord, what's her name? The lady who spoke early, Gildenborn.
Yeah,
Yes.
Amoy.
Right. She has a natural style. I think she's developed. I've seen her in earlier days, and she's come a long way. And I think she has a lot of promise in her. And she's easy. Speaking comes easy to her. Once she's structured and has a good theme, she also could be a powerhouse. But the gentleman that Mr. Phillips also caught my eye.
Yes.
Yeah, he also has some potential. So I think that all in all, the party is done well to attract that many young or youngish attractive candidates, and their future is left to follow. But their point is that they look as though they could be made, make a hand of them there. Not really. I don't agree. ONASA set up a system whereby that it made it easier. He gave each MP had a constituency office paid for by the government, right? You had a constituency assistant paid for by the government. The utilities were paid for by so they had a spot where you can be found and located and do business if you want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, and then they had a personal assistant.
Yeah.
And then don't forget, a few months ago, the Prime Minister was supposed to have a constituency liaison officer to do what I don't know.
You're saying we need to look at that.
There's a system already.
Oh, I didn't know.
There's a system already there. So they have no excuse. They don't have to worry about rent that is paid for the premises.
Mm-hmm.
Telephone secretary paid for. You get computers paid for. You get a constituency assistant who's the work, and the place is maintained. So they have the tools. The point is to manage your time, to manage the people, and to find time for the people. That's it. I know Prime Minister Arthur Strong as he was in St. Peter, and he had an office. He would still make sure some days in the week he gone all over St. Peter on his own, make time for it, and keep in touch with the people. So if you want to do it, it can be done because there's a structure there for you, right? Mm-hmm. There's not an old time days where you have to do it out of your car or from your home. It's there. There's a sign that said and it's paid for, so they have no excuse for not having the ability to be available to people if they want to.
So in essence, what you're saying, Glyne, is that a minister has 3 assistants. You have your personal assistant, you have the traditional assistant in the constituency office. I know they had this third one. I'm trying to remember the title that they gave. The one I think the Prime Minister mentioned.
A constituency liaison officer.
Yeah, that they can go to funerals and whatever.
Has that gone into being?
That's right.
Yes. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much.
Marcia, if I can have another quick interjection, if there's no call.
Yes.
I hadn't had a chance yet, but I also want to make note of the 70th anniversary of the formation of the DLP in 1955, 27th of April 1955. And I felt, and it came to me, I'm rather disappointed in the effort that has been made to deal with that major event. But that aside, I'm saying that if this would have been a nice gesture on the part of the government on reaching this milestone to give it subvention or private subvention, and the subvention is not controlled by law. The convention is not controlled by law. The convention is controlled by the Management Commission of Parliament, which is a bunch of parliamentarians and staff of Parliament that control, and it's chaired by the Prime Minister. And I understand it only meets if the Prime Minister is there. That's what he was told. So I'm saying if the Prime and ONASA devised that because he said that both parties have done a lot for developing Barbados, and they should never be put in a position where they have to scramble to pay staff and survive. And therefore, this subvention was put to do that. And I remember there were some people at the time where they decided, no, it said don't give the DLP then. When after quite right, he said, no, the Barbados Labour Party will not always be in government, and someday will need that money, which is what they had to depend on after 2008. So I'm saying it would have been the Prime Minister could have shown her magnanimity and her acknowledgement that the very democracy which she's supposed to protect and defend could be enhanced if the DLP were to even give a one-off to mark the 7th anniversary, half of it, to help get itself ready and fight a decent campaign.
Yeah.
Because it is the taxpayers' money. It is the taxpayers' money. It doesn't be a form gone to any club or any fundraising or any charity or whatever. It's the taxpayers' money.